Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna Coles, and this morning we're visiting with Dr. Kenny Burdine. He's with the University of Kentucky, Extension Livestock Marketing Specialist there. Good morning, Kenny.
Morning, Joanna.
Now, Kenny, people have been questioning for a while now, what's going to be next? When is expansion going to happen? Because we are at lows. And you've recently written an article kind of maybe outlining what projections we might have.
We're about a 60 plus year low in beef cow numbers. Realistically, we'll even have fewer cows to start January 2025. So that's where we are number wise. The article you're referencing, I put together for Cattle Market Notes, talked about the idea that, the three P's that will kind of drive expansion or lead towards expansion would be when we've got profits, when we've got pasture, when we've got patience. The idea being that we would need all three of those to kind of line up to see much interest in heifer retention. We are making a lot more in the cow-calf sector, in the cow-calf sector than we were, a couple of years ago. But I don't really know that we're any more profitable now than we were in 2014 and 15, which was kind of our last time we saw really high calf prices. Nominally, calf prices are higher, and I think that's important. It matters, but we have to remember that's also been, that's what 8, 10 years ago now since we were there, and costs are higher too. So sure, the calves may be bringing a little more than they were bringing, 10 years ago, but it's probably costing us another, this is just kind of ballpark number, but maybe another $100, $200 per cow, per year to produce those calves. So you put those two things together, although the profit I think is certainly better, I don't think that the signal from profit side is quite what it was back in 2014 and 15.
And anytime we're talking about beef, it's a protein that takes a longer time to produce. And so we almost have to project forward and really can't look at what the prices are today.
And when you think about the expansion decision, you really are talking about trading money today, either in the form of not selling heifer calves or buying bred heifers, however you want to look at it. So spending money today in exchange for more cash flow in the future. And of course, weather comes into play too. And the second P I call pasture, a bit tongue in cheek, but I'm thinking kind of broadly, pasture and feed resources. It's a function of, pasture, function of hay supply. And, you cannot grow a cow herd without having those two things in place. I like to say profit can't make it rain. And it's been dry in a lot of places.
And things can turn around with just in a few months.
The hurricane rain definitely bought us some time. As much as I hated that for so many people that were negatively affected, it did provide us a pretty good rain, pretty steady rain over a couple of days. And got pastures kind of growing again. Probably put off hay feeding a little bit, or at least slowed it down.
But I think this last P might be the one that we struggle with.
Yeah, the third one I called patience, and again, it's a little bit tongue in cheek to say that, but when you think about that trade off between spending money today or foregoing money today in exchange for increased revenues from additional cattle in the future, several things come into play. The first one being that cull cow prices are really high, right? So I mean that in and of itself is going to kind of, on average, make people pull the trigger a little bit sooner on some of these cows. Those heifers that I'd be holding back, for replacement purposes, they're very valuable right now. In fact, nominally, there may have never been a year they were worth any more. And again, the fact that interest rates are high comes into play too, right? We can think about it from the perspective, okay, if I have to borrow money for breeding stock or borrow money for development, there's that element of it too. It adds cost. But the other thing that it just does is, higher interest rate environments, they just increase the preference for money today as opposed to money in the future. And expansion really is the ultimate trade-off between, current and future. And interest rates are quite a bit higher now than they were back during our last expansion, which ran from like 2014 to 2018. And that I think does matter. And that's kind of where I think the patience framework comes into play.
We've kind of just been waiting for that expansion to kind of start and happen, but certainly considering those factors. But if producers have questions, where can they go for resources?
We've got several things out there. I mentioned Cattle Market Notes, our economic and policy update in the Department of Agriculture Economics. Certainly I'm always available. And then through your county agents, there's a lot of resources at Extension. I think we can kind of help you think through some things like that and make decisions for what makes the most sense for your operation.
Thanks for watching and have a great day.